Okay, with the two Johns, John O'Leary, John McMullen, the trial of Roman WEINZAPFEL. We're doing this podcast on Thanksgiving, American Thanksgiving. It's their number one holiday in the States, right?
Gobble.
Gobble gobble. Football
Yeah.
and turkey and prayers, I guess, right?
Okay. Sure.
Football's first, turkey second, and prayers is third.
Well, I don't know. We all have a lot to be thankful for, I think. Yes.
Yeah, and good football games today.
Yeah.
That's what I have to be thankful for as a Canadian, right? So
Sure.
okay, so the trial of Roman Weinzapfel, it's based on a true story. We're in the 1800s. This is kind of a timely script. We'll get into the weeds of the writing. It's fantastic, but there's a lot of revisionist history going on. Jade, your vice president just had a big speech today, and I think that he lied. Every other sentence was a lie that he said.
Yeah.
So that's just my subjective. Well, it's not even subjective. It is blatant
Yeah.
lies, but basically, your script kind of is a great script talking about what happened in this time, and I think storytelling is the great lesson of our history in many ways. So congratulations, guys, on making the script. My speech is over.
Okay. Good. Yeah. Interesting. We see so many of the forces that are disrupting and tearing people apart today were at work, almost 200 years ago.
Yeah,
And it's like we haven't learned anything. So this chapter, this we call it a sad chapter in American history.
yeah,
Um, we think points to a lot of the parallels that exist yet today that are still plaguing society,
yeah.
Uh, fear of the other is one
That's
way.
exactly what it is. That's your theme of your script. It's the fear of the other, fear of the unknown, fear of change.
Yeah,
Yeah. Which is ironic because it's 1842. The United States was only been around for this is before the Civil War. Uh, only been around for 60 years, right? So it's very young, and they're already don't like change in this
yeah.
young
Well, we
nation.
we had this great original sin that we wanted to say all people were created equal, but
Yeah,
Ex-
except we're gonna, if you've got really dark skin, well, you're not quite so equal, and we're gonna put you to work, and you're going to be the driver of our economy.
yeah,
The whole slavery issue was starting to
yeah.
percolate up, and we touch
But
on that in the story too.
yeah, because
Uh,
this is going to come to a head in 20 years, right? In your
yeah,
script. So,
exactly.
but like women are not equal. If you're Italian, you're not equal. If
All right,
you're Irish, you're not equal. If you're
Irish,
or
yeah,
German.
or
yeah,
yeah, or even Germans.
yeah,
And if you'd been here for a while, you considered yourself a nativist, but anybody else that was coming over after you, well, no, they're just, an invader. And
but it's
so,
funny how that works though, right? It's just because it was such a young nation, you figured that this is
yeah,
what I thought. So I thought but reading your script and it's like based on a true story, that's what and you figured that everybody come, right? Bring everybody. That's what it says on the Statue of Liberty, right?
right. Yeah. Um,
But the interesting about the Whig Party, the Whigs were really divided. Ultimately, in the 1850s, it would implode. But you had the Northern Whigs that were called the Conscience Whigs, and they were
Yeah.
anti-slavery. And then the Southern Whigs were called the Cotton Whigs because they believed the economy was based on the cotton or slave labor.
Yeah. Slave labor. Yeah.
And the
yeah.
Democrats were willing to embrace the immigrants because that was one more voter for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
and
It's
even
all
into the Civil War, when the immigrants would come over, whatever port they landed in, they may have been drafted into
Yeah.
the Union or the
But
Confederacy.
even that, it's kind of sad when we get down to thinking that, it's always about building a political party in
Hmm.
power rather than looking at what's best for everyone. I think, the preamble of the Constitution has that one phrase that says promote the general welfare. What is the best overall for everyone? You
yeah.
know, if we're all the equal and we all deserve these rights and these liberties that we claim, then what are we doing to make sure that everybody has them or equal access to them, right?
Yeah.
It, it it comes down to sometimes we have a situation in the country now where it's party over country, and that's just so toxic and destructive because it's not about a party.
Yeah. And nobody's talking to each other, right? Nobody's having a conversation, right?
Well, there's some people that are trying
Yeah.
to bridge that. It's a chasm. You're right. It's horrible. Um,
Have you guys watched the Ken Burns, the American Revolution series yet?
you're watching it,
I
aren't you?
got to see just some of for episode 1 and 2. And what's
Okay.
interesting, I think it was episode 2, Vincennes, Indiana is featured, and it
Yeah.
talks about George Rogers Clark and the massacre of the Indians, which I knew because I read history. And
Yeah.
people in Vincennes were like horrified. Some people on Facebook said, "Well, I never knew all that."
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's funny how people don't like I'm being general, of course, but people don't like read history. They don't like and it's like I'm not trying to take a shot. I'm just curious. What are they teaching in schools? Like in history? What's going on? Because it's like his movies, I just finished watching the Civil War and it was an education for me. It was very enlightening. And now I'm like in episode 2, like you are in the Revolution. I wanted to watch the Civil War first because that's what he made first, and then I'm going backwards. So it seems like
Well,
his movie should be in the schools.
yeah. John taught history
Okay.
in high school,
Oh.
and
Okay, so what are
maybe
they teaching?
you
What
have
did
a
you what
perspective.
was your curriculum in high school?
Well, I taught in a Catholic school, but I
Okay.
taught theology and spirituality and history.
Okay.
But I was along with my peers wherever we taught. When we went to university, in the 80s or whatever, we studied history. We wanted to tell objectively. This is what happened. Yes, there's bad parts, but I love my country. I'm going to be honest, and we want to avoid these pitfalls in the future. But I know that there are some who want to teach on, pardon the phrase, but a whitewashed
Yeah.
version of history, and that America can do no wrong, my country, right or wrong, and that's not healthy for
Mhm.
a republic or a democracy. Mhm.
Well, it's interesting because the Germans, and if you talk to someone who's German, they talk about the first thing they talk about with kids is that like I think when they're like 9, 10 years old is about their fuck ups, like pardon my French, in the 40s, in the 30s and 40s, and how they like were basically the Nazis and how bad they were. They get right to like how terrible they were and like the mistakes that they made and they
Mm.
teach kids that right away, like let's not make this mistake again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then what do we have? We have a whole swath of people that are falling under the sway of authoritarianism
Hmm.
Yeah,
and voting for it like this is a good thing. I'm reminded of that quote that says, when fascism arrives, it'll be carrying a cross and draped in a flag,
yeah,
which is kind of what we've seen happen all
Hmm.
around us here right
yeah,
now in the United States.
yeah. Well, the scary for me, the scariest is the religious right. I know you guys are religious, but from a Canadian, it's like I'm scared of the
Yeah,
white
no,
religious right more than anybody else.
yeah, it's really bizarre how that thing has metastasized in this country and gotten so far away from what the actual teachings of Christianity
Yeah,
are to focus on just a few hot button social issues and wear the cross like some kind of a
yeah,
badge. I'm in the group now and I get the right to, condemn all these other things because, it's really kind of sick. We saw it um, over the it hasn't didn't happen all of a sudden with current uh, people, but it's been growing for a while in this country.
yeah. But if you study history, these things have occurred in American history with different presidents and different situations. It's not like people think this is all new, right? It's not new. It's
Yeah.
just things ebb and flow, right?
History
And
certainly rhymes.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. great
Yeah,
book out, was published last year, I think, called Fever in the Heartland, about how the KKK took over the Midwest.
yeah,
Actually, the Indiana, where we are, was a stronghold
yeah,
for the KKK just
And
a
the
hundred,
first chapter is right here in Evansville.
yeah, just 100 years ago.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
$19.25.
it was religious zealotry uh, with, racism at its core.
Yeah.
So
And you've had presidents who were in the KKK. Like it's just like this is no, but you've had great presidents. You've had terrible presidents. You've had
yeah,
horrible
well,
presidents.
we've
Yeah.
got probably the world's worst in
I don't
history.
know. I think if you
You
study
know, I
history, there's been. I think that I've been doing some deep dives in American presidents. I think there's been some worse guys than your guy now, and that's what you
yeah,
we have to put things in perspective, right?
I guess when you're living through it, it's
No, of course, yeah.
the agony is magnified because you're in the moment. But yeah,
Well,
okay.
let's just put it this way. I think he's got a 5% approval rating in Canada, right? So,
Good for you guys.
so
Yeah,
with the
good for you
tariffs
guys.
and all sides do not like him, right? So.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, he's in a battle with our Ontario premier, and he's probably the most right wing premier Canada's ever had, right? So
Yeah, right.
yeah,
Mhm.
that puts things in perspective. Okay, so let's talk about your script. So you
Okay.
guys, when did you guys kind of get together and say, let's write this script? What's the origin story?
Well, John has been studying and diving into this uh, whole story for the last 20 some years,
Back in the late 90s.
late 90s. And so he approached me and said, we ought to try to develop this for the screen. And we started working on it together in, I think,
It
2022.
was.
And at first, we didn't really know how the story would unfold, what kind of length it would take. We were kind of guided by that saying attributed to Abraham Lincoln that, someone asked him, how long should a man's legs be? And his answer was long enough to reach the ground. So we started working on this and developing the story and going, well, I don't know how long it's going to be, but it needs to be long enough to just to tell the story and get the message across. It ended up as 4 1-hour installments. So I guess you would say uh, our idea is a four
Yeah,
1-hour
a mini
limited
series,
series.
It
right?
is.
Yeah, limited
It's
miniseries.
too big for a 2 hour film or an
Yeah.
85-minute.
And we're new to this in terms of how this whole industry works. And so right off the bat, we submitted it to a feature film contest. And
Yeah,
they said, well, you've got, you just need to cut half of it out and you've got
yeah.
a feature film. We go, well, I don't know how we would cut half of this out and do this story justice. We're going to have to start looking at this entering it as, so we enter it as a pilot now. We have the first episode. I don't think anybody wants to read 4 episodes unless you pay them a lot of money.
Yeah.
So we've established that we're entering it as a pilot in various ways, and we entered it in the Female Film Festival because the real central character in this, although we titled it The Trial of Roman WEINZAPFEL, the central character is a woman who is really the whole instigator and victim of this entire story. And so since we've entered it, we've actually changed the title to The Penitent because
Okay.
we really want to focus on the female lead character. She's very complicated.
And complex.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, especially like in 1842, right? So,
Yeah.
and so okay, so you guys, so you've been, so when did you guys first meet? What's your friendship origin story?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what it was. It seems like we've known each other about what, 10, 15 years?
At least 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
We have some mutual
we have
friends.
mutual friends and his wife is a sister of a really good friend of mine. And I don't know, we're both involved in the church locally. So I don't know. There's just a lot of
Gotcha. A lot of
I don't
connections there.
remember that there was any one moment when we
Mhm.
said, "Oh, it's nice to meet you."
But then, so you're John. You said are you still an educator? You're still a teacher?
I taught, and I actually taught high school, and I taught at the university level,
Okay.
philosophy and ethics, until 2015. And then I shifted my career to chaplaincy. I'm
Okay.
an interfaith chaplain for a hospital. I've worked in hospice and hospitals, and I'm currently in Evansville at Ascension.
Okay. Another John?
I'm retired
Okay.
from uh, a paying gig as a
So you
commercial
got
writer.
lots of time to write, I guess.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
the neat thing about John, in advertising, you have to say the most you can with the least amount of
yeah.
words. And
Okay.
me, I'm never at a loss for a paragraph.
Right.
So working together in creating the script, we really had to carve out, and I'd give him 20 pages. Hey, look at this,
Yeah.
Yeah,
maybe harvest a paragraph.
yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, because it's true, right? Like, yeah.
Mhm.
So, but like a lot of people come from being a lawyer, like a lawyer, or advertising. Those are the two like retired kind of writers that I find, right?
Yeah,
So it makes a lot of sense.
I did study canon law,
yeah.
and it's always fascinated me.
Yeah.
But you're doing a lot of dissecting of humanity in many ways, right?
Hmm. Yeah, it's I've spent 40 years or whatever selling hamburgers, quote, which
Yeah.
it becomes very, I don't know, unsatisfying. And to put a story down like this that you think has the ability to reveal some truths that are overlooked and need to be um, thought about,
Yeah.
it's much more gratifying. So it's been working on it has been a real pleasure, and I have to say, working with John, he's a good guy to work with.
So
Yeah.
in your you mentioned in the script that like you're kind of focusing on the female character. In
Mhm.
in its synopsis, if you're kind of pitching it, she's your antagonist, right? Like in many regards, right? Like she's and then obviously the priest is your protagonist. If you're just getting to the nuts and bolts in it, but then it's all about like kind of like the complexity of these characters, I guess, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, that's and you have to imagine a lot based on what you know about human nature and the way people think and act, which really hasn't changed all that much, to fill in a lot of the blanks that the historical record doesn't provide, you know,
Yeah.
to think about what motivated these people and why they did these very strange things that they did. Um, so we've really tried to connect those dots in a way that makes sense
Yeah.
for that time and uh, would resonate today.
And I was able to do lots of research. I'm reading and reading of firsthand accounts and letters from the priest and others writing about it. And because I started this in the late 90s, I was even able to interview descendants of Father Roman Weinzappel's brother, because all the Weinzappels came to this area, St. Philip, Indiana, but a lot of oral tradition in the family and stories of and the and the main character, we she's hard to know what
Yeah.
eventually became of her.
Gotcha. So when did like so there's I'm assuming there's a deep dive of history, kind of like archives. Where did you find all your kind of archives and
Well,
no go ahead.
it's interesting. There's a library here in the city that is sort of the repository of all things historical for this area. And when we went there to look for information about this, it's kind of been scrubbed. I think that's out of collective embarrassment by this community that
Okay.
there's not a lot to read about it. So we had to go out, and one of the big repositories is in about 50 miles from here. It was an arch abbey
Mhm.
called St. Meinrad, which is a Benedictine arch abbey, and that's where Father Roman actually spent his final years as a monk. And so getting access to their stacks provided insight into the kind of life that he had, what was going on, the things that he saved. There was a fire at the Arch Abbey. And what year was it, John?
It was September of 1887.
1887. Now
Okay.
he's a elderly man now, and he escaped the fire, and he took with him a box of documents that was kind of his life story, which all the documents related to this trial and his conviction and all the stuff around that. He felt like it was important to save, so he rushed out of the burning building with that to so that it wouldn't be lost. But there are other. Go ahead.
I've worked with 4 different archivists over the years
Yeah.
at St. Meinrad, notably Father Cyprian Davis of blessed memory, and Brother Stanley Rother, the most recent.
Mhm.
And um, believe it or not, the Harvard Law School has all the transcripts of this trial
Yeah.
uh, available. Vanderbilt Law School in Nashville. I was just going to drive down there. It's only 2 hours or so. And they said, "Oh, don't worry." And they scanned it and they made it available as PDF. So
Yeah.
it's a very interesting.
That's so like, yeah, I'm assuming you have to pay for that when you
They
do.
it was they gave it to us, and Black's Law. What is it? The law,
Yeah.
history of law. There, it's because this case was later appealed to from Indiana to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Yeah.
It's actually in Black's law history, or I'm a little rusty on
Gotcha.
those encyclopedia. You were going to say something else.
Yeah, I had a thought. When you look at the transcripts from these trials, and they had a battery of lawyers arguing, and this was in the day when they would take hours, um, and the rhetoric was flowery, and so the challenge was we got into it was to take the essence of what happened and distill it into scenes that could convey the major points, because um, you don't people don't want to listen to a 2 hour closing argument,
Yeah.
From one lawyer.
from one lawyer before the other lawyer
Yeah.
gets to get up and give his 2 hour
That's
closing
well, that's what
argument.
they do on TV now, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
There were ultimately three lawyers on both sides, and they all gave closing arguments. But go back just a little bit about the historical record. This is before, the whatever wire service, but newspapers would carry the story. So the Evansville Press had this story, unparalleled outrage, great
Mhm.
excitement in
yeah.
Evansville, you know, and so that newspaper then would be taken to Louisville or Indianapolis or Albany, New York, or wherever, and they would reprint it, said from the Evansville Press. So happily, we were able to. There's a lot of documentation.
In the newspaper archives,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
But it's amazing how, like you just said, you got that information for free. Like, there's so much information out there, right? Or like, I guess there's a lot of bad information, but meaning that if you want to find something, like there's a lot of historical elements in libraries, and it's amazing what these libraries do. Like they keep that going, and then all the news, like, archiving all the newspapers, right? Like it's the history. It's all right there, right?
Yeah.
And well, I want to give a shout out. The library that John Michael was referring to is the Willard Library, which
Mhm.
is named after Willard Carpenter,
Carpenter,
who
who
is,
is,
go ahead.
yeah, he's a character in our story, actually.
Yeah.
He's a clandestine abolitionist, and in the opening scene, he's actually secreting a black couple out of the area through the Underground Railroad, which figures into our story because when the first trial erupts in a melee in Evansville, the citizenry is so outraged. They're just convinced that this priest has defiled this woman, and they want to hang him, and they're
Yeah.
trying to get him lynch him.
And torch every Catholic home.
Yeah, and so he is secreted out of town on the Underground Railroad. So, which went right through this area. That was another aspect. You can kind of see um, the conflict between the North and the South is percolating right below the
Yeah.
surface during this story.
Yeah. And yeah, and well, and then yeah, Indiana has some obviously his Civil War history as well, right? Like so they're prominent in a lot of aspects. Like it's an interesting
Yeah,
state.
well, to
Yeah.
our credit, we were in the Union.
What's that?
To our credit, we were in the Union.
Yeah, you were in the Union, yeah, but there was some like, but it was like there's a certain divide, I guess, right?
Yeah.
It's fair to
Yeah.
And
say.
we're a divided family.
Yeah, and there
We're
were,
close enough to Kentucky, you know.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting. It's just like it's
Civil War.
fascinating.
There, people are saying there's a civil war taking place right now in another sense.
Mhm.
I guess there is
Yeah.
in the United States.
Well, yeah, it's but it's never gonna happen, right? Like,
Not like that.
no, yeah. But
And mhm.
it's divided, right? But you guys have that's the irony that we're doing Thanksgiving tonight, right? Because it's you guys are doing Thanksgiving because I'm sure there's family you have family members who are you have ideological differences, right? But you just
Yeah, they're not
sit
invited.
down. What?
Or we're not invited.
Oh,
Or
so
we,
really you're not going to get invited to like that's how bad it is?
well,
It's
we do Thanksgiving in our nuclear family,
Oh,
and
okay.
we're all kind of the same mind, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Um,
But
but it
that's unfortunate though. That's sad because it's like you should be able to like talk out your differences and like or not talk about it at all,
and
right?
as a
Like yeah.
right.
right.
And just as a chaplain, one of the
Yeah.
things that I've encountered the past month at least
Yeah.
are nurses or staff or patients wrestling with how am I going to sit around the table with a family because we're
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
polar opposite, perhaps
Yeah,
politically.
saw a cartoon where the couple's at the door, and they're carrying a bottle, and the host opens the door and says, "Well, you want to start talking about politics now, or wait till after we've had a few drinks?"
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah,
But
But it's
and
yeah.
I was just going to mention in the story,
Yeah.
you know, we also have the canal projects, which were huge, and the Irishmen are, and some of the German immigrants, but they're digging the canals and, and you get the politics between Democrats and the Whigs.
Yeah.
But it's also the media at the time, the print. Oftentimes, the newspapers politically politically aligned. I'm glad that we don't have that today. No, certain news.
You're saying that ironically, right? So yeah.
Yes.
yeah.
So things have like that's the irony is that tech like inventions change our environments, right? Like obviously technology is revolutionized things in the 20th century and we our how we navigate is different, but really we're all kind of the same. We really haven't evolved that much as humans.
Yeah.
No comment. Yeah, but it's funny though, isn't
Well,
it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
it's sad. It's a sad fact. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to go down the rabbit hole, but my wife and I had an opportunity to see this incredible film that Russell Crowe portrays Hermann Göring from
Yeah.
World War II, and that it's beautifully filmed, and we see that each of us is capable of anything in
Yeah.
that moment.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you guys are onto something with this script. So you're sending it out to at the festivals, trying to get reactions. That's the steps.
Right. Yeah. We've been getting some favorable reviews, and we've submitted it in several contests,
Yeah.
and we get really good feedback. Sometimes the notes seem contradictory, this
Sure.
reviewer will say this and this reviewer
Yeah.
will say that. We have to take a certain amount of what we get back as, well, we don't always agree
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
with
No, but that's the
readership.
part of it. That's part of it. You got to figure out what I always look from a thematic standpoint. Like, what are you trying to say thematically? and then that's how you kind of take in the feedback. If does
Mhm.
it resonate to what I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to do,
Yeah.
right?
And you had mentioned that you liked the script.
Yeah.
What's your takeaway?
I just think, well, from like I'm saying, from a thematic and timely standpoint, it's
Mhm.
perfect, right? And it's really hard to get into you have to, because you guys did a smart thing where you kind of focused on emotion and character, right? Because you don't want to get into the weeds of you know what I mean, of the world. You have to start with the human emotion, right? And you got
Right.
these two interesting characters, and then what's the motivation? Like, well, the you called her an unhappy married woman in the
Right.
synopsis. What's
Right.
her motivation? What's her, you know what I mean? Why is she doing what she's doing? And then it kind of like gets into the weeds of like we're all
Mhm.
flawed. That's why we just mentioned that we don't change because we're generally narcissistic and flawed, scared people, right? A species, and that's why we don't change. And so I'm getting into the deeper meaning, but basically, like
Yeah.
that's what your script resonates. It's like it's talking about humanity in many ways, right? So
Yeah. And again, to the woman who is the antagonist here, is a wanton, and what caused her to be that way? What was it
exactly, yeah,
that made her? I mean, she was a born, a little child, grew up as a happy little girl up until a point something changed.
Yeah, what happened to
What
her?
happened to
yeah,
her to make her uh, this broken person that
yeah,
wreaks this kind of havoc? And the man that she marries, who is complicit with her, as we find out later,
yeah,
because spoiler alert, it was a conspiracy,
sure.
and it's enabled by several people for political and religious reasons in their orbit. So
And particular the husband. He
yeah,
was
yeah,
Yeah.
he was.
Well, if I
he
was
was
if
unhappy too.
I was somebody that I had no rights and a man had to tell me what to do and I couldn't vote and I couldn't really do anything and I couldn't be myself, I kind of be bitter too. Right? So like you got to understand like it's like a shitty life to
Yeah,
be
it
a
was.
woman
She
and yeah,
and she
yeah,
got into a marriage that she realized was bad.
yeah,
She was attracted to it because this guy had money,
Yep.
and he
yeah,
could give her things that she never had, and she
sure.
liked that. But then she found out there was a cost attached to
There
that
always is. Yeah.
privilege, and it didn't sit well. And she was trying to reconcile that with her desire to uh, participate in her faith. She
Hmm.
was raised a Catholic, and that still had importance to her,
Yeah.
and she wanted to maintain that in her life, and it all just seemed to crash. And then she comes into contact with her confessor,
Father Roman.
and he's pretty much by the book, and she doesn't like his answer to
Yeah.
her problems. And of course, back then, getting a divorce as a Catholic was just almost,
Sure.
if it was impossible, but it was extremely.
Difficult.
Became I don't know, persona non grata in a lot of circles
Yeah.
if you went through that. Um,
But
Yeah.
she also encounters Roman. Here he is. He's from the home country.
yeah,
He's really well spoken,
yeah, they're both native German,
and was there some attraction? I mean,
right?
but if I can't have him, nobody will. I don't know.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's an unresolved question that
Hmm.
we try to address. What was the nature of the sexual attraction between this priest, who has taken a vow of celibacy, and this woman who is wanton and is used to being able to entice men and manipulate them, right?
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting uh, conflict right
Yep.
there.
And we always sought to make sure that there is goodness in Anna,
It's right.
and
And despite these flaws,
mhm,
these are
Sure.
human people, and we all have, flaws.
Yeah.
So let's look for the reasons
Yeah, that's
that
great.
these
Yeah.
characters developed this way, and
Yeah.
how did they get out of it? What did, you know, how did they transcend this horrible circumstance that they found themselves in
Mhm.
to go on to lead, lives of meaning? Now we have to take some liberties in the case of our female lead,
Sure.
Agnes, because she just kind of falls off the face of the earth after this. She leaves Evansville, and we don't really know what becomes of her, but we can imagine what becomes of her, and we put that into the story. It's the epilogue, which you got to get all the way to episode
Yeah,
4,
exactly.
but we think it's a huge payoff.
Yeah.
We
Mhm.
really do.
Well, it's great
And
that you guys wrote everything, right? You guys wrote in all 4 episodes.
The whole story
yeah.
is
Yeah.
completely fleshed out.
And
Yeah.
there's enough to give credence to what happens to her, or at least where she winds up in the end,
Yeah.
because there's the oral tradition and people's story, and the fact that,
Uh-huh.
you know,
Yeah, it's all plausible. There's no oh well, that could never have happened. It's all, I think, very plausible.
Yep.
It's one of the things that bothers me when I start to watch a film is I get into a scene where I look at it and I go, well, that they wouldn't do that in that situation. It's like the bad commercial where the kids are out and they're uh, with the guy with the chainsaw and the hockey mask, and they're walking right into his
Oh
clutches.
yeah.
The
Yeah.
one I'm talking about.
I love
It's
Yeah.
that.
like
Hate when
uh,
that happens.
so if the minute I get a sniff of implausibility, I want to tune out. And
Yeah.
so we've been very careful about.
And I love Father Roman and what he stood for and all that, but he was not. There were some rough edges on him.
Sure.
He's very strict and educated in that world of
Oh, he's a
Catholic.
brilliant man.
Yes,
Brilliant.
and the story, when you confess, if you're not truly contrite, the priest does have the option of perhaps not granting absolution.
Right. And then
You
that,
know.
that in fact, that was the scene that your festival
Did yeah.
from our screenplay was a
Yeah.
2 page where an Irishman goes in to confess and he leaves without absolution. And that was an important point to make
Yeah.
because that factors into what happens later between Anna Maria and Father Roman. It's
Possibly. We don't know.
possibly
We'll never know
we'll
because of
never
the
know.
seal of the confession. Mhm.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I think you're onto something. It's fantastic, and I wish you guys the best of luck. Are you guys breaking bread together today in your nuclear
No,
family?
but we live a couple of blocks apart. We'll be,
Yeah.
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 All right.
I
So
did.
tell the Canadian what's on the table today. Obviously, turkey, right?
Okay. Well, yeah, we're going to have turkey,
Yeah.
ham.
Ham. You got ham too.
Uh,
Okay.
I'm reminded of that old Leo Sayer song. There was ham and there was turkey, there was caviar and long tall. You remember that one? We'll have. I got 3 pies:
What pie?
pecan,
What's the pie? Is one's pumpkin? I'm assuming.
pumpkin, and apple.
What's the first one?
Pecan,
Pecan. Oh, pecan pie. Yeah, so good. Who
and
made it? Who's making it?
well, I made them yesterday.
You made them. You made the pies?
That's right.
Hmm.
He's a good cook.
I
I'm a
gotta.
pie.
Maybe you should send me the pecan pie recipe. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So then you got mashed potatoes,
Oh, yes.
Yeah, green bean casserole.
Some of
green
us have
bean
sweet
casserole,
potato too.
Oh yeah,
Sweet
sweet
potatoes.
potatoes.
sweet
Mhm.
potatoes. Oh, so you got
Dressing.
mashed potatoes and sweet potatoes?
Right.
You
Yeah.
have a choice.
Yeah. We really pig out.
Some people have chicken as well.
Yeah.
Of course, there are those who want to get pizza from whatever, Una Pizza.
Oh, really? Okay. And then you got obviously gravy, right?
Oh yeah, cranberries.
Cranberries. What kind? You have bread? Kind of like a nice
Well,
bread?
we get the dressing. That's got a lot of bread in it. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so like what do you call it? Stuffing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but we don't stuff it in the turkey. Actually, we
You make it, yeah, yeah.
make it.
Well, sounds delicious. And what time do you guys usually eat at?
Yeah. Late in the afternoon here.
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
So you watch the Chiefs Cowboys games at 4:30. So
Yeah.
you eat before the Chiefs Cowboys game?
Yeah, probably a little bit before that.
Yeah. So during the Green Bay Lions game today.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have the TV like while you're eating, or you turn on the TV?
No,
No?
no, no,
No,
no.
we're both we're not that kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll
Gotcha.
keep the TV off during dinner.
No, I'm just kidding because like you know how
Yeah.
people are these days, right? So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's true. Yeah. No, and I'm not that big of a football fan. I
yeah,
mean, I kind of like it. I enjoy it. I'll catch some of the games today, but
sure.
it's not
Yeah.
the center of my attention.
Of
Yeah.
course, yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. All right. Well, I wish you guys the best of luck. Enjoy the day, and let's talk again when you this thing's either made to a film or you make your next script.
Okay, thank you, Matt.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much.